Hi everyone, I'm Linda McDonald with Life on Summerhill. Today I will be showing you a beautiful fresh and dried flower wall hanging. An easy project that is functional and decorative. This is the perfect project for anyone who has flowers that they want to keep as a keepsake, or if you just love dried flowers as a part of your home decor. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing I like to recommend you do is lay out your flowers on a table. Now, what I recommend is 3.5 inches from center to center of flower, and then you will get that measurement and add 3.5 on each end. So for 4, you are going to need a board that is 17.5 inches long. So what you need to do, if you have a saw, is measure 17.5 and make a mark. And then I like to come down and measure again and make another mark, just so I have a nice line to line it up when I use my saw. Now, if you do not have a saw, you can get the hardware store to cut this for you, and they'll do it at usually no charge. So I'm going to check my measurements one more time, and they look good. So now let's go out and let's cut this board, and then we'll come back and keep working. Okay, so now we're going to start distressing this board, and I'm going to share with you a few of my favorite tools that I like to use when I'm distressing. I like to use a hammer, a utility knife. This is actually called a countersink. You can use an ice pick too. So what I like to do first, and I also have this chain that I use to distress. So what I do first is I take this hammer and I just start beating the board with the hammer. And I have to say that this is probably one of my favorite projects right here, because I get to be destructive. Don't forget your edges and your corners, the ends. And then you can just spread some of this chain out on here. And don't use a chain that you want to keep, because it's gonna break, and you want a chain that you don't worry if it gets damaged. See, it makes these little like divots in the wood. It works really good. You can also use a sturdier chain to do this. This is actually a chain from another project I had. Okay, so enough of that. And then I like to take this countersink, which you're going to use this later in this project, but I like to just kind of make some divots. Oh, got a splinter. I like to make some little divots in the wood, and I'll like turn it and run it down and make some long lines. And then last, I like to take the utility knife and just score some of the edges off. I have to be careful. This little piece is wanting to give me a splinter, so I'm gonna pick it up and show you. But you just kind of, it's like whittling wood. You just run it gently across it, and it'll pull some of the wood off and kind of give you an imperfect piece of wood. And then I like to do it on the ends. Make sure you're working on a table, that you don't worry about cutting into the table. Okay, I think this is a good place to stop. And my next step is I like to take a little bit of sandpaper and just run it over any of these edges, because like I said, I don't want to get a splinter. So I'm just gonna run, and you can use any sandpaper. It really doesn't matter. This one's from my my sander, my electric sander that I use. So I'm just going over any splinters so I don't get any splinters in my fingers when I start to paint or work with this anymore. You can also take the sandpaper and just kind of rub your corner to get it smoothed out. See how that kind of made that corner smoothed out? Okay, so I think we're at a good stopping point here to move on to the next step. So let's see what we're gonna next. We're gonna start marking this where we're going to drill the holes. Okay, so this particular board is a 1/2 inch by 4 inch, but technically a 4 inch is not a full 4 inch. So I need to find the center of this board this direction, and that is close to 1 3/4. So I'm going to mark that on this end, then I'm going to mark it on this end, and then I'm going to draw a line straight down my board. Like so. Okay, so now the next thing you want to do is you want to measure 3 1/2, 3 1/2, 3 1/2, all the way down. So, and we're going to make a little like ticking mark for that. So we're going to make 3 1/2, and then 3 1/2 here, 3 1/2, 3 1/2 again, and then just to make sure you're right, 3 1/2. So there's your 3 1/2 mark all the way down. Okay, so for the next part, after you've drawn your line and you've made your ticking marks, you're gonna put your ruler back on here, and where each ticking line is, you're gonna line that up with 3/4, which is right here on the ruler. So you're gonna make a mark on this end and a mark at 1 1/2. And what I like to do is make that a nice circle, and then that way I don't get confused with anything else, and I know that is where I am going to drill. So let's continue by putting our mark on the ticking line and then make a circle. All right, so now I have my marks, and I'm going to drill into each of these marks along here. But I need to make marks in these corners so that I can hang it. So to do that, you come down 1/2 inch, make you a little line, come in 1/2 inch, and then make a circle. And that's where I'm going to drill on that one. And then for this one, I come down 1/2 inch, I make a little line, and then I come in 1/2 inch from the other side, and I make a circle. So that's my other one. Okay, so now we're gonna set this up to drill so that it doesn't go into my table. So for this part, what I like to do is I like to use some little blocks like this to stand it on, but make sure that these little ticking marks go down in between the blocks underneath. So you don't want to be drilling into your blocks that are underneath here. So I might, as you notice, like I've put this one way out here, and I may put this one way out here, and then one like right in the middle here. Okay, so what I like to use is I like to use a 3/4 inch drill bit, and I use a cordless drill, but you can use a regular drill too. So I put one hand here, I push the drill into the drill bit into the onto the dot, and then I drill into it. Now because I'm using my nice table, I do this very, very carefully so that I don't go into my table. So I just do it very carefully. And then I continue to drill each of these holes. It doesn't take long to do this. right, last one. Okay, those are done. So now I need to do these ends the same way. And then this one over here, like so. Okay, so just like before, I don't want to get any splinters, and I want to make sure these holes are good and bored out. So I will get my sandpaper, and I will get my this tool that I was telling you about earlier. It's called a countersink. And what I do, if you look on the back, see how this looks on the back? I just make sure that my holes are good and clear, because when I go to put jute in here, I don't want it to get stuck on anything. And trust me, it will get stuck, and it's a lot easier this way. And then I take my sandpaper and I run the sandpaper over the hole just to remove any excess. And sometimes I even have to get my tweezers and I have to pull some of this wood out of the holes. I think it depends upon the kind of wood you're using. Some woods just drill easier and you don't have the issue of it showing in these holes. Okay, so for the next step, we're gonna paint this, but here's another trick I have that will give it that distressed look, and that's using petroleum jelly. So what I like to do is I'll take a Q-tip like this, and I'll get some of this jelly on here, like so, about that much. And then I'll run it like right here where it's scored. I'll run that petroleum jelly there. Now, paint will not adhere to this. Wherever you put this jelly, paint is not gonna adhere. So if you don't want it to look like that a lot, then like all over, then what you need to do is do sparing, just a few places here and there. But if you really want a lot of it, then just go for it and add it here, there, and everywhere. Don't forget your ends, you know, because you are gonna see the ends and the sides. Just have fun and add it wherever you want. Okay, so now that we have the petroleum jelly, the next step is to start painting. Now I like to use a mineral paint, or I like to use a chalk paint or milk paint, because it gives it that kind of distressed farmhouse matte finish look. And this part, I'm telling you, this is like such an easy project, especially with the painting. So I'm gonna paint over where see how it's breaking up right there? That's where I put the petroleum jelly. So right here it's nice and thick, but see how it broke up? That's the jelly. That's how we get that look. And here's another place I did it. I did it down here. So when you run over it, see how it beads up over that jelly? So make sure you do the sides when you're painting, because it's important to have your sides and your ends done. Here's another place where the petroleum jelly was. And you don't have to be perfect, because remember, the whole project is a distressed old piece of wood. So you don't have to like make sure every little tiny piece is painted. Unless you want it to be, you don't have to. So I may even leave like this. The wood was textured right here. So see how there's like the natural tones coming through? I might leave that in place so that it can have that distressed look there too. Okay, so I'm checking my ends, and then we're gonna let this dry, and then we'll be ready to start arranging flowers. Okay, so for this part of the project, you're gonna need some jute, you're gonna need scissors, and you'll need your ruler again. And what you're gonna do is we're gonna cut a 25-inch piece of jute for here, for the hanger, and 20-inch pieces to hang each bouquet. So you'll need 4 of those. So let's first cut the 25-inch piece for the top. And then I'm gonna cut 4 20-inch pieces for the bouquets. And what I like to do is once I cut one, I'll actually use the other, the one I just cut, kind of as a guide to cut another one. And then I just keep repeating that as I go. So just 4 of these, and then we'll start threading the jute for the hanging piece. Okay, so I'm gonna put these to the side because this is the 25-inch piece. So what you're going to do is you're gonna thread this through the hole. And I have to twist this, and then as I'm putting it in, sometimes I have to keep twisting. And notice how there's like some debris sitting there. You may have to grab your tweezers and pull that out because it wants to keep it from going in that hole. And then also remember the countersink. The countersink can help too. So I didn't get this hole good and straight, so I had to go back and use that. So twist, put it in the hole, and keep twisting as you push down. And then once it comes through the other side, you just grab it and pull it up and tie it into a knot. Like so. One tie and then into a knot. And then pull it nice and tight. And then you want to come down here to the other side and repeat the process. Twisting it as you go down. Once it, oh, look, my paint wasn't dry on the bottom. Ha! And then you pull it up here. Tie this side in a knot. And then we can move on to doing the part with the flowers. So what I do, make sure that's good and tight. So pull on it and make sure it's gonna hold. Okay, so now we're gonna work on where the flowers go. And to do this, again, you're gonna twist it, put it in the hole, and just twist as you go down. And then from the bottom, you're gonna pull it through and then turn it over. And again, twist, put it in the hole, twist as you go down until it comes through the other side, which it hasn't come through the other side yet. Sometimes it gets, like there's little splinters in there and it'll get stuck on splinters. So you have to just keep twisting and putting it down until it comes through the other side, like so. So then you pull it up, and what I do is I line this up and I just keep pulling like so until I get it perfectly lined. And then I'll lay it here, and then I'll start on this one and finish them before I go on to the flowers. Okay, so we have this one finished, and I'm gonna turn it around so you can see this is the top and this is the bottom. And what I like to do is I like to lay these out nice and straight so that when I apply my flowers, I'm kind of ready. Now, the next step in this is your flowers. And what I like to do is I take, and remember that they need to hang upside down. So what I do, these are already dried. Some of my others are not already dried, but I'm giving you an example of dried flowers as opposed to fresh flowers. So what you want to do is kind of arrange these how you want them, like so. and then put them on the board about how far down you want them. Now, because some of my others are smaller, I'm gonna grab a shorter one and put it on here as a guide. So this one's this long, and this one, I want them to be about the same length. So I know where my thumb is, that's where I'm gonna trim my lavender. So now, let me grab my scissors and trim the lavender. So while I'm trimming this lavender, we would love to know what your favorite flower is. Honestly, one of my favorites is lavender. I also have a plant in my yard that is called lantana, and do any of you know what lantana is? Because it is so pretty. It's a delicate little flower, and it looks beautiful hanging upside down like this. You'll also notice that I'm trimming these at different lengths because, you know, we want it to kind of have that wildflower look. So some of them I've already trimmed at different lengths, and the others I've not. Okay, so we're gonna take this. Some of these guys came off, so we're gonna trim him. We're gonna take the lavender. I'm going to sit it on the board like so, and then we're gonna tie it. And the way I tie it is I tie once and I tie twice. And it kind of helps keep it stable as I bring it down. So, like so. So then I pull as snug as I can. And then I pull it this way, and then I tie a bow, and I pull that nice and tight. So the idea though is the jute kind of helps grab the stems and keep it in place, but you want to make sure it's nice and tight so it doesn't slip out. Okay, let's work on the next one. This one's already trimmed, so I'm gonna move, you know what, let's move these guys. This will make this a lot easier if they can lay flat. See, that's much better. Okay, so I'm just gonna lay him down here, and again, we're gonna tie 2 loops, come down and tie it as tight as we can. I like to take the flowers, push them back up in there, tie it, and then put a bow, give it a nice pull, and then I may trim a few pieces that are hanging out kind of crazy. All right, and then this is another flower that's fresh. It hasn't been dried yet. And this flower, just like the others, I'm trying to keep the length the same. So we're gonna put him right here. 2 loops. I think I may have done more than 2 that time. Keep him in the middle. Tie him into place. And then do your bow, come back and trim. Okay, and then last is rosemary. And I want to show you a little trick I have for the rosemary. Let's move this out of the way. Whoa, they're going everywhere. Okay, so with the rosemary, I like to take some of the end off. So I'll pull the end off so I have a stem, and I'll sit him down there. And I just keep repeating the process, pulling the end, sit him down, pulling the ends. This one is, you know, more than one on a stem. So he's gonna be really short. So we'll put him there. And then to give you an idea, you know, 5 or 6 stems of rosemary. And the beautiful thing about the rosemary is it smells so good. So it's gonna make your house smell beautiful when you hang it up to dry in your home. I think that might be enough, so we're gonna leave that. And again, I'm gonna pull him up a little bit and tie him into place. Just like I did the other ones, no different for this one. So, I'm curious what you would put on your dried flowered board. We would love to know in the show notes what you would put on there. So we've got all of these on, so now let's go style it, and I'll show you a good place to hang it while your flowers are drying. Okay, so now we're in my kitchen area, and I wanted to give you an idea on a place you can hang your flower wall hanging. I have this wall in my house that has hooks, and a cute place to hang it would be on some hooks in your kitchen or in your dining room. So you just simply hang the little piece of jute up on the hook, and then what you do, and let's see, you want to just keep moving it back and forth until you get it nice and straight. And if for some reason it's leaning forward, you just move the jute back so this knot is more towards the back so that it hangs nice and straight. I also wanted to share with you one that I made a few days ago so you could see how the flowers dry over time. So on this one that I made a few days ago, these flowers were completely fresh and they've all started to dry, and by hanging them upside down, it pulls the petals down so that they can dry out in that downward motion. Now this particular one, I have just some greenery from my yard. I didn't use rosemary, so I wanted to share that with you because you can pretty much put anything you want on here. You could put greenery, or you could put all herbs like thyme and rosemary and other things, or you could do all flowers. Whatever works with your decor and your design. So I am so excited that you all came to join me today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to follow me so you don't miss out on future episodes. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you soon.